Patience, just an honor to be on this with so many dynamic preachers, pontificators. Coming from Mark 15:34, my God, why have you forsaken me? God has asked his son to do the unthinkable, to offer himself up and submit to a death that he knew would take a long time and would be extremely agonizing. We have such a poignant image of Christ in Gethsemane, wrestling with his very human fear of pain and begging his Father, please, if it's all possible, don't let this happen. And when it became clear that there would be no reprieve, Jesus accepted God's will and did it. This pain is a tragic end to a life lived entirely for others, and the pain must have been nearly unbearable. The dust, the heat, the thirst, the pain. And as we know from these last words, the sense of abandonment. Jesus has done everything his Father asked of him. He has spoken truth to power. He has left the comfort and familiarity of his home in Nazareth and has traveled the countryside, meeting with as much resistance as he has with acceptance. He has slept on hard beds and on no beds at all. And finally, at the end of this journey, is on a cross on the town garbage heap. He's crucified, laughed at, made fun of. He is close to passing out. Despite doing everything that God has asked of him, he has received no sign from God. And he cries out to his Father, why have you forgotten me? The glitz, the confetti, the billboards of his entrance to Jerusalem, less than 5 days are gone. Those people, like many Christians, we are front and center in the time of pageantry and pomp, the time of balloons, fireworks, and Fifth Avenue sensationalism are gone. So long as the lights are shining and the bugles are blowing like the blaze of the rocket's red glare, they flash for a moment across the canopy of creation, then expend their light. Do you know people like that? But James Cone in The Cross and the Lynching Tree, the revered theologian and social critic, explores the meaning of the cross. In Black and White, experience is to neither easily forget the past nor easily move on to the future. Have you been like that in COVID-19, between a rock and a hard place? The cross offers us a place for openness and community, a place where we can look back and mourn the past together as Christ mourns with us on the cross. But also, the cross is also a symbol of hope. But how can Jesus hope when he feels abandoned? What better word is the middle portion of not really moving forward, being stuck in a position? The way that we deal with this is to not ignore it, but instead being witnesses of the execution. By looking at the cross, by looking head on to the horrors of Lynching Tree, the quintessential symbol of Black oppression in America. We must go to an old rugged cross and view a person that was sentenced to capital punishment. When there is an execution in any department of corrections, whether it's Ohio, whether it's Georgia, whether it's Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, it is hard to find volunteers to watch the execution. Most of the people are on the outside of the facility with signs, let them fry, God's judgment. But the actual persons that sit and watch someone be strapped in an electric chair are so small that the state oftentimes must give compensation to have a legal witness. Oh, but I urge you on today, I wonder, do I have somebody in this house that don't mind witnessing an execution? Are you willing to witness the execution, to gaze at the gore? Oh, it's not a pretty sight. It will require some hang time. Standing up for right often means pain of rejection and persecution, and developing a willingness to suffer to bring about redemption. It is to witness Eric Gardner, a Black man, saying the agonizing words to a white police officer, I can't breathe, in 2014, who stopped him for selling untaxed cigarettes, held him in a chokehold on a New York sidewalk. It's watching I Can't Breathe. George Floyd pleading in May of last year, appealing to the Minneapolis police officer who responded to reports of a phony $20 bill and planted a knee in the back of his neck until his life had slipped away. Our role is to be truly provoked by the cross, a word which comes from the Latin provocare, which means to call forth. God uses the cross to provoke us, to call us forth, to stimulate us to action, to arouse our passion. I remember, beloved, in college, I suffered from a bad tooth. I had to have it pulled. I went to the dentist and she pulled it. After 3 days of continued pain, I called the dentist back to complain about the extremely uncomfortable pain. She told me to come back in immediately, so I did. She asked if I had been drinking liquids out of a straw. I said yes. She quickly informed me that I had a dry socket. I said, "What is a dry socket?" So I asked, what do I need to do to stop the pain? She said, "I will make an incision so that the blood can flow again." Oh, I'm reminded, without the blood flowing, you will not heal. Without the blood of Christ, we will not be him. I hear Jeremiah pose the question, is there a balm in Gilead? Is there a physician in residence in Gilead to save this sin-sick world? And I'm here to declare there is a physician among all physicians. His name is Jesus. Jesus Christ, who humbled himself to die. Christ humbled himself to come out of the spiritual and eternal world into the physical and corruptible world. Christ humbled himself to lay aside his eternal glory and majesty and become a man for the purpose of dying. Christ humbled himself to take all the sins of humanity upon himself and to bear the weight and suffering of them all. Christ humbled himself to bear the judgment and condemnation and punishment of sin for all of humanity. Jesus Christ became sin for humanity and died as their sin before the just wrath of God. That's good news. That's good news, that in abandonment, that Christ bore the pain of suffering for sin eternally. Our challenge and my challenge is that we have to hang in there. In a sense, hanging there upon the cross, Christ was not even a man. He was sin, the very embodiment of sin. In some way, he embraced all the sin of the world and died for the sins of humanity. Hang in there, brothers and sisters, just like Jesus. We share in this cup in our hang time, Christians. The scriptures say that Jesus hung from the 3rd to the 9th hour. Oh, I wonder, do I have some people who know that he hung for us, that we might have a better life? He hung for truth, that we may come to know it. He hung for justice, that those who are unduly persecuted and incarcerated may be spiritually set free. He hung for love so that we can know that there's a better, higher way of living our lives. Our challenge, because they hung him high and stretched him wide. For you and me, he died. That we should be assured that although we are forsaken, we are not forgotten. By him hanging for us, what is your hang time today? Do you feel discouraged? Are you ready to give up hope and trust in God's ability to deliver you from defeat and despair? What is your hang time today? Is it 6 seconds or 6 years? Hang in there. Whatever we're facing, hang in there. God is not through with you yet. Hang in there. God will see you through. Amen.